All right, guys, welcome back to the second part of the GSTL Venus today. Here it's going to be Incredible Miracle versus FXOpen. After an exciting match we just had, this will be the second one, of course. FXOpen, a pretty solid team, but Incredible Miracle did quite well in the first team league, and they just have a great star team of players in general.
Yeah, they have two really top players with MVP and ST. However, they also have a lot of players that are really good right underneath them. And here they are coming out right now with, who's there in the front?
Leading the charge, it looks like several different players coming out. And ST and MVP towards the back a little bit there. See the IM coach there in the middle, dressed up very nicely. His ID is Eri.
Oh, he dresses quite nicely. He's a great coach for these guys.
Yeah, he's actually really friendly as well. If you ever meet him in person, talk to him. He's a pretty friendly guy.
He's also a very pro-foreigner. This is one of the more progressive teams, IM.
That's true. So I'm sure that the obvious feel here for IM is that they're the better team, that they have the advantage here. They're not going to be overconfident, per se, but obviously they've had a lot more results. They've had a lot more top players. But even so, I think they have to be careful because FXOpen's been getting better, man.
FXOpen has been getting better, however, they did just lose their best player that people didn't know about in Twilight FXOpen. They lost him to FXO, who we just saw if you haven't seen. If you're just tuning in now, we just had an awesome match between FXO Esports and StarTale. And for anyone that hasn't been paying attention, you can check out the m.gomtv.net, check out the schedule. But we do have 2 matches on Friday for the first 5 weeks of the GSTL. The GSTL is now a 10-week regular season, and then playoffs after that, much longer, which a lot of people were calling for.
It's very true. Now, of course, some more information about Incredible Miracle for you guys. They were established on October 1st in 2010, so relatively new, but of course all these teams are. Starcraft is a relatively new game. Starcraft 2, I should say. They're second place in the GSTL point ranking. Of course, Slayers is number 1. They were the champion of February in the GSTL, and they were runner-up back in March. So, pretty good. Very solid showing.
They weren't in GSTL May because the way that the GSTL preseasons, February, March, and May, were determined was based on the overall point rankings of your individual players.
Yep.
And IM has a lot of really strong players. You can see I guess the black shirts. I don't know the difference between black and yellow here. But a lot of their top players are some of the best players in the game right now. But they didn't have the depth they really needed in the GSL to give them the points to be in the previous GSTLs.
Yeah, check out Lucira in that picture, man. He's up at the top. I feel like he's looking right into my eyes right now. I'm so scared of him.
Just pointing directly at you.
And ST actually looks so smart in that picture. He's actually one of the smartest Zergs out there, if not the smartest Zerg.
Yeah, I would definitely pick him as one of my favorites to win this GSL coming up next week.
Yep. Of course, MVP is Scary Guy himself. I say scary, I mean in StarCraft. When you talk to him outside of StarCraft, he's quite nice.
All these guys are very manner, except Lucira. He's evil.
Lucira is evil. I don't know why he's wearing the yellow shirt, man. He needs to swap with an ST. Of course, I am sponsored by Gugem's, a clothing company here. That's their shirt. So it's a little bit different. It's a relatively new shirt. So our fans in the audience.
Some umbrellas there. It is actually raining over these past few days.
Yeah, it's actually been one of the rainier weeks here. I've been in Korea for about a month now, and it's weird because people have told me before that it rains a lot, but this is the first week it's really rained for me.
Fortunately, the temperature is quite perfect, at least in my preference. And here comes our FXOpen team for our Utopia. A little bit smaller than they used to be, but Choya in the back there, leading the charge from behind.
Yeah, Choya actually a really nice guy. He's so supportive of his team. He shows up to events early with his teammates, talks to them, he coaches them. He's a really, really great coach. And in fact, I saw him at the qualifiers, and he was trying his best to re-qualify. I know I talked a lot about in the team league, or in the super tournament rather, whether or not, I was like, I don't know if Choya's even going to try to qualify. He's so busy, but he did try. Obviously a really, really strong player still, despite his role as a coach.
Yeah, and it is actually really important to have a strong player coach on a team to be able to give them the advice they need, make sure that you're actually monitoring the players from the player perspective, which is one thing that you do for FXO, right?
Yep, exactly.
They're signing the little banner.
Yep, that's SC for you, for those of you guys who don't recognize him.
A lot of these teams have uniform changes from the previous seasons. It is interesting to see, however, sometimes they pick uniforms that the Korean scene might like, and the foreign scene might think, hey, you should be handing me a hamburger.
That's true. There's actually a story about Nesty working at a burger place that someone made on GOMTV.net. I tweeted about it a while ago. I thought it was hilarious. And basically a bunch of different players came into his burger shop, and there were jokes about him. Like TSL Rain came in, he was just like, "We can't deal with this."
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. The IM coach does care a lot about what the foreign scene thinks and is working to change their uniforms. But the shirts are very nice quality. It's just
they're good shirts.
Color choices, not quite.
Yeah, the color choice is not what everyone likes. Now, as you can see, the results here at FOU, they were established at the same date, actually, August 1st, 2010. They're 5th place in point ranking, so they haven't done extremely well in the team leagues. They made it to the round of 8 in both February and March. Did a little bit better in May, but, you know, those results aren't everything. Like I said, there's been a huge gap between team leagues recently. That's going to change, of course, with the new system where everyone's going to be team leaguing all the time.
Yeah, in the old team league, it was a single elimination tournament. It wasn't really a league. Now they're actually going to be playing every other team in their league, so they will get a lot of chances to play against the other teams that might not be considered the strongest. So you can really see the true level of skill of each of these different teams.
Yeah, you can see the best FOU there at the top right. Someone made a thread on TL about the round of 8 of the Super Tournament. They called the best FOU the villain, and I actually have really latched onto that when I see him. He looks like such a villain to me. He does all-ins all the time, and he's just a solid one-basing player. I mean, he can play a longer game, but he does like to do timing attacks and one-base all-ins, and he just looks like such a villain over there. And Choya at the top actually looks like so strong. Looks like the great, strong coach. And the guy over there on the left, I actually don't recognize him.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting pushed out of the team by the guy right to his right.
Looks like he's about to get knocked out of there, but we all know that's not the case. So, great little shot there. I actually like the creative laying down on the floor shot. And the players there at the front.
Floating on the glasses. I wonder if those are the 3D glasses that he was forced to use in the 3D
And also
tournament.
you can see the resemblance between Gumiho and Leenock there in that picture as well. They're both on the side of Choya. If you go back and watch the VODs, like rewind it after I just said that because you guys can't rewind it right now.
Oh my god.
But yeah, look at the resemblance between Gumiho and Leenock. They're actually teased about that all the time, how they look similar.
I think Gumio likes it, but Leenock hates it.
Yeah, that's how it is actually.
So once again, the leader of the S2Con, I don't know his official title, president or CEO or something, S2Con being the conference of all the Korean StarCraft 2 teams, is explaining the rules to the two different coaches here.
Yep. And I gotta say, this is I know a lot of you guys are going, well, what's he really explaining? Well, he's just basically talking about the team league and making sure this is a friendly match. It happens in sports as well. It's kind of like the coin toss, but it's different. Obviously, there's no sort of chance involved here. It's just a good formal way for the coaches to make sure they're not like actually hating each other. They're not going to like start punching each other in the middle of the match or something like that.
We don't want to see any of that in StarCraft. It's a very violent sport, but only violent electronically. Yeah. Outside of the game, we're very well-mannered, and we all like each other, at least in some respect. Maybe not in the foreign scene,
how you
but
did that. You were just like, everyone likes each other, at least in some respect.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. And there are rivalries here in Korea as well. You know, in the foreign scene, there are a lot of rivalries between specific players. You know, notably like Idra versus Combat X, that kind of rivalry that seems kind of small. It's almost like a ladder rivalry because they don't really play each other in tournaments or anything like that. But that sort of same thing exists here in Korea as well. You just don't see it as much because it hasn't really reached the foreign scene yet.
Yeah.
But it will.
The foreign scene has developed a lot of the villain atmosphere a lot more than the Korean scene. The Korean scene in StarCraft 1 was very personality limiting. But now in StarCraft 2, they're allowed to let their personalities flourish. So we're getting the positive personalities first. Yeah. Maybe the negative personalities will follow very soon. I hope not. But
I mean, there are players in StarCraft 1 like Firebat Hero. You guys should look him up. If you didn't follow StarCraft 1, you don't know who Firebat Hero is, look up Firebat Hero Celebration. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, a lot of really nice things that hopefully we'll be seeing in the Team League very soon.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was a little bit of personality in StarCraft 1, but that kind of got changed over time. And it's really good to see in StarCraft 2 the personalities coming out, and that's part of why the Team League is so awesome.
Yeah, I love watching the Team League a lot more than the GSL. However, the GSL is still pretty awesome.
Yeah, and don't forget, that's still going on. Of course, next week there will be Code A and Code S.
Yep.
So I will be casting that. Some of those games. Well, we have rotating casters for this, you know. And they're on vacation right now. And
Code A next week will also have a morning session. There will be 1 p.m. Korean time for Code A throughout the week. Code A will also be the Monday evening slot. And then we'll have GSL Code S and GSTL in the other evening slots throughout the week.
Yeah, so look up that schedule on GOMTV.net. If you didn't catch all that, Torch is like talking so fast, he knows like genius. Yeah. But yeah, just make sure that you show up on time, Code A, earlier than usual. I know that makes a lot of you guys happy. Just don't have to stay up so late in the U.S. I know I did it before I came here. It was up at 5 a.m. I have class the next day. Psh, just stay up late anyways.
Stay up all throughout the night. No big deal. The StarCraft 24 hours a day now. It's just so much content coming out there.
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
different
actually
tournaments.
true. You can watch StarCraft anytime.
E. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but
Enon? I don't know. I saw Non at the end. Oh. Lee's Korean name.
So one of the commentators on the Korean side, that's their Korean name. For anyone that was wondering out there. A lot of interesting things in the culture bridging that StarCraft's actually doing. I never would have known anything about Korean culture before StarCraft, but watching StarCraft, I'm like, hey, K-pop.
Well, it's a little bit different for me because most of my friends back in the States are Korean. I've got a lot of Korean friends, and shout-outs to them. I know some of you guys are watching, but I kind of grew up with Koreans, I guess you could say, so when I came here, the culture was normal, but it's good to actually be here. It makes me feel really happy, so... It's a great culture, it really is. And if you guys come down to Seoul, Korea, which you should come here to Mokdong and come down to the studio. You can meet us, talk to the players, meet the players. They're sitting right over there. So definitely come here. I really recommend it. All right, our first player for IM is IM Happy. Seems to be a happy guy. He is, of course, in Code A. I'm sure most of you guys have looked up those results by now.
He almost looks a little bit like Oz, actually.
Yeah, he does, actually. There's a slight resemblance.
A little less happy.
Yeah, Oz actually is much happier than he is. That's a fake ID. His name should be, I am somewhat happy. I am mildly pleased. IM IDs are kind of funny, and I don't know if they actually planned it to just kind of be that way, because a lot of their IDs are just an adjective. So it's like, I am sleepy, I am happy, I am Yoda. Kind of just,
I'm a drink.
Funny. I am Nesty. It's a noun or an adjective afterwards, so it makes sense to say I am, but it's kind of creative. I like how they did that. And I don't know much about this guy. He just qualified for Code A, and we haven't really seen him otherwise. He's played in a few things here or there, but there's not a lot out there about this guy, so I don't really know too much about the guy.
I think he was actually the player that had a really nice match against Jinro in the show match that they did, IM versus the World All-Stars, just a friendly match. But now we do have against him ASD FOU, the most nondescript ID I've seen so far.
I think his ID is actually just the middle row of his keyboard, just like a ASDF and then OU. ASDF OU. I like that, actually. It's kind of creative.
Easy to sign in.
It's probably good with his friends. I mean, good with his hands. I don't know where that came from.
Well, his hands are his friends. He is a StarCraft player.
I meant to say I think his friends know that he's good with his hands, maybe, and they told him that. Sometimes you see IDs like that, and it's actually... There's so many players out there, especially in Korea, where their IDs are just something their friends told them to make. Because they're like, oh, I can't pick my ID, I can't pick my ID. Actually, Oz is one of those IDs where he actually had really a hard time trying to decide. He's like, I want to change my ID, I just don't know what it was. We had like a 2-hour discussion about it. It was a long, lengthy process, actually.
Twilight, and then what was the other one he was going for?
Well, he wanted to be FXOpen at first. And we told him that, we were like, that sounds kind of cute, but the foreign scene's not going to like that much. I don't think it's a good idea.
It's like Beyond in Korea.
And now everyone on the foreign scene's going to call him that because they know his secret desires. And they're like, oh, it's so cute. Oz is so cute. They call him FXOpen. The first map is going to be Crevasse. And the players' races are both Terran. For those of you guys who didn't know that, we'd tell you guys exactly. But now you know. It's going to be a TBT. And I got to say, it's going to be pretty close. I think we don't really know that much about these guys, but they're both starting players. They've got to be solid. The map is loading. Who's going to take game one? Will it be IM or will it be FOU? Let's find out here at GSTL Venus. All right, up here at the top left, a member of the team IM. I call him mildly pleased, but he is happy.
You cut off the IM there, so he's just happy. Ooh,
that's a really nice sign. That's an Iwo Jima sign.
Who is that in the background doing the little oopsilon?
The bottom down here, we have
ASD FOU.
It's like someone just spammed those letters over you, Torch. I didn't quite see who was in the background of that picture, but obviously it's letters, or what is a trying to think of it's a
Iwo Jima or something.
It's the Iwo Jima flag raising thing from the U.S. From the World War II. It's a famous battle, but I was trying to say it's a reference to it, but I wanted to use a different, better word for that, but I couldn't think of one. And right now, actually, ASDF, he did not make his barracks at 12. In fact, he is continuing to make SCVs. Is he going to go for a command center first?
Looks like he is. He's sending that SCV up there. He's saved up the minerals to be able to do this.
And it looks like that's what he's going to do. This is really interesting. It's relatively risky, but on a map like Crevasse, where you can actually expand to the back door, it's pretty safe. It's still risky to certain builds, like the build we saw from Boxer yesterday. If someone did something like that and you did this, you would just lose. There'd actually be no way for you to hold it.
Not only is this risky, but it is also a pretty big trade-off because you're delaying your orbital command. So while you get that second command center up, you're delaying your first orbital command because your barracks is late.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you actually have a interesting time where you are first weak because you have no fighting units, but then you're not that far ahead economically.
Yeah,
so
your
I don't know why
opponent's going to have a better economy for a long period of time, actually.
Yeah, so the other player is actually choosing to do the barracks and then command center. So we're going to see if they cross over each other's in economy in a little bit here.
Yeah, the difference in this, and in StarCraft 1 it would be much better because you get the SCVs out faster. There's no mule kind of playing into it. But in StarCraft 2, if you have better SCVs, it doesn't really work like that because mules are so important, especially in TVT when you're both trying to drop mules and get ahead in the economy. Having those mules is very important. Yeah, sure, in the long run, if you get that faster command center, you get your SCVs up faster. But that fast of a command center just kind of, you don't really get that optimal saturation just yet to make it worth it. So it's an interesting build. I'd like to actually explore and discuss this with a high-level Terran and what they really think about going for CC first. Is it really worth it? How much is the trade-off? Because I don't play Terran, I used to. But I'd really like to have a discussion with someone about that.
Are you looking at me funny? I used to be a high-level Terran, but
and that's why I know you were talking about just a minute ago, just saying that you knew it was a trade-off, and I was just trying to allude that you're actually pretty high-level Terran yourself. You actually
used to
played,
be, not anymore.
Well, you played in the Open Season 1.
I did, back when a lot fewer Koreans played in the game, so it was a lot easier to get into it. Now it's almost impossible for foreigners to get into it.
Yeah.
We had some FXO players almost qualify.
Yeah, and if you're a foreigner in Korea and you come down, you should try to qualify. There's no harm in it. Play against some pros would be pretty fun. Right now, actually ASDF got his gas up at his backdoor expansion. That's up Rich Vespine Geyser, so he's getting 6 gas per trip, so he's able to get a pretty quick factory after taking that. He's only taking his second gas, whereas his opponent has done the same thing, but is actually adding barracks instead of adding a factory right away. He's just now adding his factory, but did add 3 barracks. Going to get a lot of Marines out. So this is actually the most opposite of a textbook TVT you could ever see. You just don't see builds like this very often. One barracks command center is a little bit more popular than the expansion, of course, that we see from ASDF, but even so, kind of how he's transitioning into multiple barracks here isn't all that common. Normally you see players tech up immediately, especially at the highest level of StarCraft 2, when units like Pre-Igniter Hellions can just end the game easily if you're not prepared for them. Banshees, if you don't have stim, you can just kill Infinity Marines and do a timing attack. At the highest level, it's very difficult to deal with that tech.
Yeah, we do have a lot of Marines coming out here for Happy. It's going to be interesting if he's trying to go for a +1 attack once the engineering bay gets up. Not exactly the best thing if there's going to be a bunch of siege tanks, but it looks like FOU is going for more of an air plus bio army.
Yeah, and right now ASDF is just switched his factory with barracks. He's actually going to start making siege tanks, and he's going to switch his starport with another barracks that just made a reactor. So he's going to be making some medevacs out of here, so this is pretty interesting.
And both going for third bases in a little bit here. They're going to try to just zone out and go for the economic game. They are cross-spawn, so it does give them a lot of time.
This is very true. Yeah, this is actually really interesting how this game is playing out because both players are taking that very fast third, and neither player really being aggressive. So this kind of passive style just kind of lends itself to being, okay, who's doing the better unit composition, and that kind of evolution of how this game transitions into the late game without any real engagements is kind of unusual.
That's very true.
So right now, back inside of ASDF's base, he's actually added a few more barracks. He's adding a second factory. And in fact, he's had that medevac, or rather the starport with the reactor for a while, but he hasn't really made any medevacs out of it. So he hasn't really made any use of that. And I feel like this build for him is something he hasn't really fleshed out. Just by how he's doing it, he's kind of making strange choices. And his rock surrender attack, he does see this. We'll see how he reacts. So he does have 2 bunkers at the top, so he doesn't really have to do anything to hold this. It's going to be relatively easy for him. In fact, he does have a siege tank.
He does have a siege tank, but he does not quite have siege mode, so it's not that effective against these Marines. If those rocks were broken down and there weren't bunkers there, then FOU would be in a little bit of trouble, but fortunately he is actually prepared for this.
Yeah, I think that what Happy was trying to do with that was just scare him a little bit, say, oh, I've got a bunch of Marines at the bottom of the ramp. If he didn't have a bunker, he would have forced those bunkers immediately.
Yep.
You know, something like that. So where it's just kind of a pressure move, slow him down, doesn't want to lift that command center up just yet because he doesn't know how many Marines are out there exactly. He just saw the rocks being broken down.
But FOU also being a little scared, he is throwing down a sensor tower, so he knows exactly what's going to come at him. He is playing a little bit more defensively than Happy. Sometimes that's a good thing, but if you're forcing drops, you can lose control of the map pretty quickly.
Yeah, and right now, Happy is going to take his third base over here, moving that command center over, and right now ASDF is kind of in a funky spot where it's difficult for him to move out because he doesn't really know what's going on, and if he just continues to sit in his base, he's just going to get further and further behind simply because he's not mining from a third base. Right now, as far as the count go of the siege tanks, it's 3 tanks to 2 tanks, but there are 2 factories for ASDF, whereas only 1 factory for Happy, so that siege tank count is going to start getting higher and higher for ASDF, but remember, he doesn't have that third base up just yet.
And their economies are almost exactly the same, but it will start to change quite quickly.
Yeah, that base is getting mules dropped at it, the SCVs are transferred over there now, and he's taking double gases there immediately as well, and still ASDF reluctant to move his command center down. Sensor tower going up similarly for Happy to what was going on. For his opponent, both players just wanting to be sure about the drops. Now, there is this little timing that ASDF could hit. He has a lot of units. If he catches his opponent in a bad spot, sieges up just right, you can hit him with a good timing, maybe pressure that third base. Looks like he's going to move out and maybe do that right now as he takes his own third. Very slow third though, and that's really going to hurt him. He's lost a lot of mining time. And he does spot his army in the middle of the map. Does lose a few of his Marines in doing so, but he does know exactly where his opponent's army is now. He doesn't have to guess about it.
And the income rate is quite large while the transfer is happening. There's 1,900 minerals per minute compared to 1,200, but that deficit is going to change quite quickly once the SCVs start completely mining.
Yeah.
He's going to go for a drop here with this medevac, fill it up with Marines, send it around the map. Can't quite see. Yeah, so the sensor tower for Happy is defending the third, so that does leave his second base quite vulnerable to a drop. However, there is a Marine there to scout it, and he does thwart it quite quickly.
And that Marine actually was able to escape and did a significant amount of damage to that medevac, making it much easier to take out later on. Oh, and a good scan here by ASDF, sees exactly what his opponent is up to. He's going to be able to siege up and be prepared for this. And that's going to, of course, trigger Happy to back away. When your opponent knows what you're doing in TVT and he knows where your army is, he can siege up first, and then you just can't attack.
Yep. Yeah, the positional advantage is really, really big in TVT. If you can fight, or you can force your opponent to fight into you, you can defend with a lot smaller army than they need to be able to break you. And what that allows you to do is take those excess units and send them on drops to just continually give you more and more of a lead.
Exactly.
Oh, but another thing is also vision is very important in TVT. Oh, that's a huge loss. Though only 1 Marine got out of that dropship.
Yeah, and even that 1 Marine died instantly as well. A huge loss for ASDF. He's already 20 supply behind, but he does have a pretty good defensive position here. The problem for him, though, is that Happy can safely take a 4th base whenever he wants to now.
Yeah, and ASDF is not going to be able to move on to a 4th. Happy is camped right where the normal 4th would be. However, ASDF is able to move this large group of Marines around and force the army of Happy to back off temporarily, at least.
Yeah, I like what ASDF did there. He moved some units forward. He just wants to make sure he has control of those Zelnaga watchtowers. That's so important in this matchup because, of course, tanks need that important vision to do as well as they'd like to. Shoot as far as they can, and nice little siege up here by ASDF, and just barely Happy getting most of his units out of the way.
Yeah, I like that from Happy, just skirting slightly into the range of the siege tanks, forcing them to siege, and then backing out right when they finish their siege mode and are able to shoot. He did take 1 shot, but that's not too bad considering there's about 10 siege tanks there.
Yep, the upgrades of Happy right now are 1-1 for his infantry. A little bit of an engagement here. A lot of the tanks of Happy running into siege tank fire. Some Vikings out here for ASDF to scout, get vision for his tanks. He's going to do a pretty massive drop. Happy has a sensor tower over the left side of the map, so he can't drop over there safely. Now he actually just produced one in the middle of the map, so he almost has vision. He doesn't have vision of the right side of the map. However, he has plenty of missile turrets and Marines patrolling around his backdoor expansion.
But FOU does know where the missile turrets are, so he might be able to just drop right in that little opening. However, there are 4 Marines there defending. He is going to drop the Marines down outside of the base and hopefully run in.
I like that move. That way Marines are in a mobile place where they can avoid the missile turrets and the sensor tower for the most part. Happy looks like he wants to be very aggressive again. He may decide to start trading armies. He's maxed out right now. He knows he's got better upgrades than his opponent.
Happy also building 2 command centers at the same time. He can use these to float over and make orbital commands and mine at a much faster rate, or he can make planetary fortresses and be able to defend a bunch of different expansions at the same time.
Yeah, and it looks like these Marines are finally spotted. And look at this, in the middle of the map, a little bit of an engagement. Nice little trade here by ASDF, picking off a lot of the Marines of his opponent. A lot of Marines for Happy being lost needlessly there. But in the meantime, these Marines over here at the north have been spotted and are being chased away.
They did trade their main bio armies, but the tanks are still there, so there's no way for either army to move forward. However, Happy is bringing in his bio reinforcement and might be able to make a push right now. And if he does do that successfully, he should be able to take out the third and end the game.
Yeah, he has a 40 supply lead right now, and he has so many Marines that even though the siege tank split is awesome for ASDF, he can just split his Marines really well or attack at a different angle where the siege tank split is just not as strong. It looks like that is what he's going to do. He's going to try to circumvent that line, go around here to the south side where the tanks are relatively weak. They're actually on siege right now. ASDF realizes this may be happening. He's trying to reposition his tanks.
And there's also this little battalion of Marines still in the middle. He's going to try to do some damage with it, but it is going to get taken out. Not too bad because he did force the army of Happy to pull back and did take out a few siege tanks right there.
Yeah, I like that move. He's always got that squad of Marines to try to catch reinforcements. And uh-oh, Happy almost walking into a trap, but he's just got so much larger of an army that he's just bullying his opponent as he moves those command centers around.
And he looks like he is going to move in for a killing blow right, or not necessarily killing, but a damaging blow right here. He's going to stim in and run in, although the siege tanks are in position. They're going to force him to move back. He is still within range of being able to take out these command centers. They do float away. One gets destroyed. That is going to be quite large because there's going to be a lot less mules and scans, and he is still able to hit the command center of the third. This is a great position for Happy to be in. However, FOU is pulling in the tanks and is going to be able to push them back slowly.
Yeah, he's actually going to lose this command center here almost indefinitely. He's going to have to lift that. He doesn't even want to do that.
Beautiful Marine drop here. He is dropping the Marines on the tanks, not to do damage themselves, but to force the other siege tanks to be shooting their own teammates. And he is taking out it does take out 3 siege tanks. That is actually pretty big because at the cost of 4 or 5 Marines, he's able to take out 3 tanks, the forward 3 tanks. So he's able to move in and retake some of the position.
Yeah. Happy actually being a little bit sloppy with his Marine control here, just trying to retreat those Marines back. He has forced this orbital lift though. He's throwing down some scans, trying to see exactly how big his opponent's army is. He knows he's stuck on 2 bases right now. And he himself has actually got so many orbitals just scattered around the map. He's dropping mules. He's got that 4th base up and running. And another engagement here. ASDF going to catch a small force of Happy and clean it up. But even so, he's losing a lot of units in the process, and you just can't really replace them as quickly as Happy can.
He did lose that battle slightly. Obviously, the forces of Happy are gone, but the thing is that he didn't do it decisively enough to force Happy to move away from the 3rd base like what he was hoping to do. He was trying to send that army around and just pull back the main force of Happy, but instead he's just fighting the reinforcements and is not getting the mining time that he really needs. He is down by almost 60 supply now.
And what Happy is doing right here is that looked like a silly engagement, I'm sure, to you guys watching, but he's just trading armies repeatedly, knowing that he's got a much better economy. He knows he's that far ahead, and he can just continue to trade, and it'll be okay. And he's going to run forward here, trade some more Marines, try and take out his opponents. Does decide to back away, though. He's still got that 3rd base under siege, like Torch was mentioning, and he can't land it. There's no way. It's not safe.
And ASDF, knowing that he can't retake that position quite yet, that's way too big of an army from Happy, so he is moving over to this other 4th base in the bottom middle of the map, southern middle.
And during all of this, Happy making more command centers, just spreading out, starting to get his upgrades going. Right now for upgrades, Happy has no upgrades on his tanks, but his bio is at 2-2, and his 3-3 is actually getting pretty close to his infantry. Hold that thought. Just slowing over my words as I watch dropships die. He's starting to get his vehicle weapons, is what I was trying to say.
We do have a very hurt medevac here. If it does run into a Marine, it will die in 3 or 4 volleys, excuse me.
Well, with those upgrades, it might just be 2. And here comes more units just going to attack this command center. And the command center can't even lift fast enough. A lot of these SCVs will be taken out.
Happy playing this very safely. I really like seeing this play. He knows that he has the advantage. He doesn't need to run in and do any extra damage.
Yeah, he's moved past the trading army spaces. He's going to lose a few of his SCVs here maybe to some of these Marines, but the Marines are cleaned up. Now it's 200 supply to 95 supply, and another engagement over here. He's actually going to try to break this contain on his third base, but he just did not do so, cost effectively losing almost all of his units. And I think this may be the end for ASDF.
Yeah, he's completely choked. He's only on... Actually, he's completely mined out in his main and his expansion, so he's got no income whatsoever right now, and his army's just dwindling down. It's going to be over very, very soon. Tried to take his third. He did get back to a mining position, but he's got no army to defend it. And there's the GG.
GG! Pretty nice play, I have to say, from Happy. Made me happy.
Not just mildly happy?
Not just mildly happy. I was actually happy about it. ASDF played well, but delaying that third command center was just really the nail in the coffin for him. I mean, it was like the first nail in the coffin, and then someone just kept hammering it in, and it was the only nail they needed at the end.
He delayed his third, and then he also he played more of a defensive role, but he wasn't successful with any of his drops. He kept trying to do it, but it kept getting scouted by the sensor tower and the Marine
and the Marines
that were out on the map.
Yeah, he just had so much stuff all over the map. And on top of all of that, I'd like to mention that ASDF did a really good job with that one Marine squad. He always had that squad running around. He was trying to catch tanks, reinforcements. He picked off tanks here and there, and when you're behind, you just have to do stuff like that. But once Happy realized what was going on, he just cornered that group of Marines, and that was it for that. So, did react to it quite well.
It is unfortunate, but it's a nice start for IM here today in the first match for them in the Venus League of the GSTL, the full league GSTL. They're going to be playing against all the other 5 teams in their league.
That's
and then
true.
The top 3 teams from each league will move on to the playoffs.
Yeah. So that's how the format works, for those of you guys who didn't know.
Teams play each other, and then
tell
they move
people
to
about formats of stuff.
I do.
You want to tell them about Code A and Code S?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm just curious if you want to tell them. All right,
So the next map we will have is going to be dual site. We don't know who's going to be playing quite yet.
Yeah, we're about to find out.
I am happy. I don't know if he has any weak matchups. He's a Terran player.
Yeah.
So.
I gotta say that I think if we're gonna have a little interview actually here with the coaches, just really quick before we find out.
Enjoy. In a second.
In a minute. Like, oh, interview. Oh no, it's not. Just kidding, guys.
So expansion. Oh no, it's not.
Oh, there's one more game. Oh no, there's not.
Yeah.
There's Lenok there. I thought that was going to be
that Lenok or Gumio?
Actually, pretty sure that was Lenok.
Okay.
I was looking over there though. I'm like, am I wrong? Torch, now we're just like battling with and making each other look bad.
You're just trolling me, I know. And guys, if you want to troll anyone, the best person to troll is John the Translator. And you can message him on Twitter at Junka, which is JUNKKA83. He loves getting tweets. And followers, too.
He was telling us about it. You guys should follow him.
Yep.
You should follow me as well at FXO. Wolf should follow him at Torch Gaming.
Yep.
일단은 지난번 GSTL을 나오지 못해서 아쉬웠어요. 아쉬웠는데 저를 비롯한 선수들이 모두가 아쉬웠고 그 아쉬운 만큼 또 어떻게 보면은 준비를 할 수 있는 그런 시간이나 또 전략 노출이 또 적었다고 반대로 보여질 수 있기 때문에 이번 시즌은 더 각오가 남달라요. 예. 모든 팀 선수나 감독님들이 생각하는 것과 같이 열심히 해서 우승을 목표로 하고 있고요. 선수들이 최상의 그런 환경에서 또 좋은 성적을 낼 수 있도록 열심히 도울 거예요. 저희 조가 조금 약하다는 평가가 조금 있는데 저 역시 그렇게 생각하고요. 원정욱 감독님이 저희 팀만 빼면 다 할만하다 이런 식으로 얘기를 했다고 들었는데 스타테일도 거기서 거기거든요. 제가 생각할 때는. 그래서 모든 팀을 이겨서 좋은 성적 낼 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 포유팀이 굉장히 생각보다 까다로운 팀이거든요. 그래서 열심히 준비한 만큼 최선을 다해서 좋은 경기 펼쳤으면 좋겠고 이영석 감독, 플레인 감독이 또 많은 노력을 하고 있다고 알고 있어요. 오늘 그런 노력이 IM팀에는 무모한 짓이라는 것을 깨닫게 해주도록 하겠습니다. 열심히 하겠습니다.
처음부터 강팀을 만난 게 오히려 더 좋은 것 같아요. 나중에 올라갈 수 있을지 없을지 모르는 상황인데 맨 마지막에 IM 만났다 그러면 힘들었을 것 같은데 처음이니까 그냥 편하게 준비했어요. 목표는 우승을 해야 돼요. 팀 분위기라든지 그런 것 때문에 무조건 우승해야 되고요. 그냥 무조건 우승이에요. 이번에는 전의 시즌과 다르게 정말 우승하고 싶고 다 우승하려고 뭉쳐있기 때문에 우승할 수 있을 것 같아요. 동훈이 형이랑 동훈이 형이 뭐 열심히 하는데 안 된다 그러셨다는데 솔직히 IM이 뭐 저희보다 세죠 당연히. 근데 오늘부로 저희보다 약해지실 거예요. 기대하세요.
Both Korean players very confident there. That's the coach of IM.
Yeah, I have to say I liked IM's comment. FOU is stronger than a lot of people think.
They are.
That's a really good thing to say as a coach because not only does it show that you're taking them seriously, but it shows that you really respect the other team. And I like that. I like that kind of comment more than I like the StarTale comment of, oh, a lot of those teams are really easy. So
you like little BS comments, not the fluffy?
I mean, I don't think that. I mean, if a coach is probably going to tell the truth most of the time, but I think to consider all teams good, there's a reason why they're here. I mean,
that's true.
That's how I feel about it.
And also, the IM coach's answer can be taken in two ways. One way is that, he treats StarTale like all the other teams. Well, they're going to beat everyone. The other way is, we take every single match seriously. We're going to play our hardest no matter what happens. We're going to put out our best players every single game.
Yeah, I
prefer the latter.
I respect that attitude. It's kind of like the attitude Nada has when he says no matter win or lose, he always looks and tries to see what he can improve on when he plays. Yep. That's the kind of mentality I think a lot of players need to have in StarCraft 2 that just don't quite yet.
And that's what you really need to do to improve, yeah.
So, we don't know just yet who our next player is going to be for FOU.
I think maybe it could be Choya. Maybe Lina.
It could be. Now, remember, even though Choya is a coach, he's still a player. And we saw Boxer play yesterday, so you never know.
Boxer did a great job yesterday. That was very exciting to see him play again.
Yeah, he actually made a pretty good showing, I have to say.
If you guys haven't checked it out, make sure to check out the VODs. Oh, who do we have here?
I didn't quite catch his face.
We have a Korean player on Team FOU.
The Korean player?
His name is Lucky FOU.
This is Lucky FOU, and actually, he's the captain of the team.
Yep.
So
he was the one floating on the bottom, I believe.
He should be, of course, quite good. He probably knows this is his time. If he's the captain of the team, he knows he has to lead the charge now. He's behind a little bit. Obviously, no GSL results. I've actually hit this guy on the ladder before. He's pretty good. PvP is a weird matchup, but I've played this guy on the ladder before, and some of FXO have as well, and he's pretty good. So, we don't really know exactly what his strategies are going to be. When I play him on the ladder, it's PvP, so it's a little bit different than what we're going to see here today. So I don't know his PvT style. You know anything about this guy?
Not a whole lot. Obviously, he's got no GSL results. I don't know if he played StarCraft 1 before, but he is the captain of the team, so either that means he's the oldest and they didn't want to choose who the real captain is, or he's got a lot of hidden talent that people haven't quite seen yet.
Yeah, I'm sure that if he's the captain, he's definitely a really, really solid player. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to get happy a run for his money here. The map is dual site, so to pick dual site against a Terran is kind of indicative of some sort of timing attack. Normally on this map, it's very difficult to play a late game oriented style. So, not entirely sure what we're going to see from this guy.
I am starting to like a lot of the map, or a lot of the games that come out of dual site. It's a different style where your third and your fourth are in a line away from your main base. We do actually see him choosing Zerg though for this game.
Yeah, and the countdown to start, so I guess he's actually a Zerg player. I played against him in PvP though. We'll see though. The map is loading. Is Happy going to take him down and put his team up 2-0? Or will this newcomer tie it up 1-1?